The Forbidden Planet. The Zorthan Empire's expedition ship, the Vortex, drifted silently through space. Captain Zyril stood on the bridge, staring at the massive blue-green planet on the screen. A planet long abandoned. A planet surrounded by legends and fear. Earth, he muttered, his 4 eyes narrowing. The lost home of the humans. For centuries, stories had spread across the galaxy about Earth. It was said that the humans once ruled the stars, but then, one day, they simply disappeared. Some claimed they were wiped out by a great war. Others believed they ascended to a higher plane of existence. No one knew the truth. But Cyril didn't care for legends. He was here for one reason: technology. If the rumors were true, Earth held the most advanced war machines ever built. The Zorthan Empire wanted that power, and he was sent to retrieve it. Commander Vorak, Cyril called out, "Prepare the landing team." A hulking, armored Zorthan stepped forward and saluted. "Yes, Captain." 5 soldiers, fully armed. "We will investigate the ruins and secure any valuable technology." Tyrol nodded. "Be careful. The planet looks dead, but we don't know what's waiting down there." The landing pod descended through Earth's dark skies. Thick clouds covered the atmosphere, blocking the sunlight. The planet was eerily quiet, lifeless. As the pod touched down on the cracked, abandoned ground, the doors hissed open, and the Zorthan soldiers stepped out, weapons ready. They were in what looked like an ancient human city. Gigantic towers, once mighty, now crumbled and broken. Strange metal roads stretched in every direction, covered in dust and debris. Skeletons of human vehicles lay scattered around, rusting away. "This place is a graveyard," one soldier muttered. Commander Vorak tapped his wrist device, scanning the area. No signs of life. No movement, but energy readings are strange here. Something is still active underground. The team moved forward, stepping over debris and remains of a lost civilization. Then they saw it, an entrance to an underground bunker, its massive doors sealed shut. "This must be a human military facility," Vorak said. "Let's get inside." One of the soldiers approached the control panel and activated a hacking device. Sparks flew as the ancient system resisted, but after a few seconds, the doors groaned and slid open, revealing a dark tunnel leading deep into the earth. The team entered, their lights cutting through the blackness. The deeper they went, the more they felt an eerie presence, as if something was watching them. "This place is too quiet," another soldier whispered. "I don't like this." Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the tunnels. The ground trembled. The walls vibrated. Then, bang! The entrance doors slammed shut behind them. "We're trapped," the soldier shouted. Before they could react, the facility's lights flickered on, one by one. A cold, mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. "Unauthorized presence detected. Initiating defense protocols." The Zorthans barely had time to raise their weapons before the sound of heavy footsteps filled the tunnel. From the shadows, giant machines emerged, ancient human war drones, their eyes glowing red. Vorak's eyes widened. "This place isn't abandoned. It was waiting for us." The underground bunker shook violently as the ancient war machines roared to life. Their red eyes gleamed like burning stars in the darkness, casting an eerie glow over the crumbling walls. Commander Vorak's heart pounded as he and his squad of Zorthan warriors raised their plasma rifles. They had come expecting ruins, dead technology, and perhaps some lost artifacts of the long-extinct humans. But this was something else entirely. "Commander, these machines," one of the soldiers, Selrin, swallowed hard. "They are still operational after 500,000 years. How is that possible?" Vorak didn't answer. His sharp reptilian eyes scanned the towering metallic figures before him. They stood motionless for now, but the energy levels in the chamber were rising rapidly. The war machines had been asleep for eons. Now, they were waking up. A mechanical voice suddenly echoed through the vast chamber. "INTRUDEORS DTETTED. Defense systems engaged. Then the first drone moved. Its massive body, covered in ancient but unscathed armor, whirred as it activated. With a grinding sound, its right arm transformed into a high-energy plasma cannon. The temperature in the room spiked. Warning! Hostile presence. Coven firearmed. Before Vorik could react, a blinding blue beam shot out of the machine's weapon. One of his soldiers, Zikrin, barely had time to scream before he was vaporized, reduced to nothing but glowing particles in the air. Fire. Now. Vorik roared. The chamber exploded with gunfire. Plasma rounds shot through the darkness, slamming into the war machines. But to the Zorthans' horror, the attacks had little effect. The drone's armor was impossibly strong, deflecting their weapons like mere pebbles. Then the war machines advanced. Their metal feet slammed against the ground with thunderous force. More energy weapons emerged from their frames, locking onto the invading aliens. One drone raised a hand. A pulse of blue energy rippled outward, sending several Zorthans flying into the walls. Bones cracked. Screams filled the chamber. Regroup, Vorik barked, dragging the wounded soldier to cover. He tapped his communicator. Surface team, respond. We are under attack, requesting immediate extraction. Static. The signal was jammed. A second drone activated. Then a third, and then. Vorik's breath caught in his throat. More machines were rising. Not just 3 or 4, but hundreds. They emerged from hidden chambers, from beneath the rubble, from walls that had concealed them for 500,000 years. The Zorthans had not stumbled upon a simple abandoned bunker. They had walked into a sleeping army. Commander, Zelrin's voice was panicked. We have to get out of here. We're going to be wiped out. Vorik clenched his teeth. He hated to retreat, but there was no other choice. Fall back. Get to the surface. The Zorthans ran. Plasma fire lit up the chamber as they fought their way back toward the entrance. Explosions rocked the facility. The war machines were relentless, their weapons precise, their defenses impenetrable. One of the soldiers, Veltrak, was too slow. A metallic claw shot out from the shadows, grabbing him by the neck. He let out a strangled cry before the machine crushed his body like a twig. Vorik cursed under his breath, but didn't stop. He couldn't afford to. The bunker's exit was just ahead. The massive doors remained open, leading back to the ruined surface of Earth. But then, bang! A massive steel barrier slammed shut in front of them. The war machines had cut off their escape. Trapped. Find another way out. Vorik growled, shooting wildly at the approaching machines. His shots barely scratched them. Move, move, move. Zelrin was already scanning the area. There, he pointed to a side passage, a ventilation shaft. We can blast through it. They rushed toward it. Another soldier set charges against the metal grate, priming them for detonation. Tick, tick, tick. Boom. The explosion blew open the shaft, revealing a dark tunnel leading upward. Go. Now. One by one, the Zorthans climbed inside, scrambling through the narrow passage. The war machines were still coming. Their red eyes glowed like burning suns, their heavy footsteps shaking the ground. Vorik was the last to enter. As he pulled himself into the tunnel, he stole one last glance at the chamber below. The war machines stood in formation now. They were no longer chasing the Zorthans. They were waiting. For what? Then he saw it. In the heart of the chamber, something was shifting. Dust and debris fell away as a massive ancient door began to slide open. It was taller than any of the machines, engraved with strange symbols, human symbols. From the darkness beyond, something stirred, something alive. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the chamber, unlike anything they had heard before. Primary systems reactivated. Humanity's LJC restored. Vorik's blood ran cold. Whatever was buried on Earth, whatever had been locked away for 500,000 years, was no ordinary machine. It was something far more dangerous. and it had just woken up. Vorik and his remaining soldiers crawled through the ventilation shaft, their breathing ragged, their bodies battered. Behind them, the war machines still moved, their heavy metal bodies shaking the ruins of the ancient bunker. But Vorik wasn't thinking about the war machines anymore. He was thinking about the voice. Primary systems reactivated. Humanity's LJC restored. Something had woken up. Something far worse than drones. Commander, Zelran gasped, crawling beside him. Did you hear that voice? That was no simple machine. It sounded like an AI. Vorik nodded, his mind racing. Not just any AI, something ancient, something powerful, something that's been waiting. They kept moving through the dark tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling, and cracks spread along the metal walls. The entire underground facility was shifting, like a beast stretching after a long slumber. Finally, they reached the end of the shaft. The exit led to the surface, but a thick layer of collapsed rubble blocked the way. Blast it open, Vorik ordered. A soldier placed another set of explosives. The countdown began. Tick, tick, tick. Boom. Dust and fire erupted as the wall blew apart. Light flooded the tunnel, and the soldiers scrambled out, emerging into the ruined landscape of Earth. The sky was dark, covered in storm clouds that swirled unnaturally. The air hummed with static energy, and lightning crackled across the ruins of ancient cities. But then, a deep, rumbling sound echoed through the air. A pulse. The ground trembled. The sky flickered. Then, the Zorthan's communicators came to life. Unknown energy signature-ed. Their ship, the Zarkil, was finally responding. The surface team must have re-established contact. Vorik grabbed his communicator. Zarkil. This is Commander Vorik. We are under attack. Prepare for emergency extraction. But then, static. The signal cut off. Commander. Zelran's voice was weak, full of dread. He was staring at the sky, his reptilian eyes wide with fear. Vorik turned, and then he saw it. A massive structure was rising from beneath the earth. For centuries, it had been buried under layers of rock and sand, hidden away from time itself. Now, its colossal form pushed through the crust of the planet, shaking the ground with unstoppable force. It was a ship, but not just any ship. It was enormous, far larger than anything Vorik had ever seen. Black as the void, covered in alien markings that pulsed with golden energy. Ancient cannons lined its hull, crackling with power. The Zorthans had seen many warships before. They had conquered dozens of planets, defeated countless enemies. But nothing in the galaxy looked like this. This was a superweapon, a forgotten human warship, and it was awakening. Boom. A shockwave exploded outward, knocking the soldiers off their feet. The clouds above twisted into a vortex, lightning striking the massive ship as it slowly lifted into the air. The war machines below had stopped moving. They stood in silence, as if waiting. Then the voice returned. This time, it spoke with authority. Project TTITANOS, online. Vorik's stomach twisted. The Zorthans had come here expecting ruins, expecting nothing but dust and bones. Instead, they had reactivated the most powerful weapon in human history, and it was looking at them. The ship's weapons hummed, charging with power unseen for 500,000 years. Then, another message came. This time, it wasn't from the ship. It was from orbit. A frantic voice crackled through the communicator. Commander Vorik, this is the Zarkil. We have incoming. Static. Then, another ship entered the atmosphere. Sleek, black, covered in golden energy signatures identical to the ones on the Titanus. Vorik's blood ran cold. Commander, Zelran whispered, we're not alone. Something else had been watching Earth. And now it was coming. Vorik's heart pounded as he watched the dark ship descend from the heavens. Its hull gleamed with ancient energy, similar to the warship that had just risen from beneath the earth. But this new arrival was different. Sleeker, deadlier, and moving with terrifying precision. The Zorthans had never seen anything like it. Celerin stood frozen beside him, his scaly face pale. "Commander, if that's another human warship, we are doomed." Vorak clenched his fists. "We don't know that yet, but we need to get off this planet now." He turned to his remaining soldiers. "Find a way to re-establish contact with the Zarkal. If that ship is hostile, we can't fight it alone." The ground trembled again as the colossal human warship, Titanos, began to rise higher. Its engines roared, sending shockwaves across the ruined landscape. Dust and debris swirled as the buried city beneath them shifted, revealing more forgotten structures beneath the surface. Then, a deep, resonating voice echoed from the sky. "Unauthorized presence detected. Identify yourselves or face elimination." The voice was mechanical, but not lifeless. It carried weight, as if speaking with the authority of an entire civilization. Vorak swallowed hard. The Zorthans had ruled over dozens of worlds. They had never needed to ask for permission. But here, standing on the remains of a long-lost human world, they were the intruders. He stepped forward, forcing his voice to remain steady. "We are the Zorthan Empire. We came to investigate this dead world. We did not come for war." Silence. Then the ship above them moved. Not with the sluggish, careful motions of an old war relic, but with speed and precision that defied logic. One moment, it was descending. The next, it had shifted positions, hovering directly above the Titanos. Its black hull pulsed with golden energy. Vorak's communicator crackled to life. "Commander Vorak, this is Officer Jalrek on the Zarkal. Something is disrupting our systems. Our scanners are being jammed, and..." The signal cut off. Then, without warning, the alien ship fired. A beam of pure energy shot from its hull, striking the Titanos with a force that shook the entire planet. The light was blinding, illuminating the ruins like a second sun. The Zorthans threw themselves to the ground as the impact sent waves of destruction outward. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, from within the Titanos, something responded. A shockwave blasted outward, sending debris flying into the sky. The golden energy along the warship's surface surged brighter, its long-dormant systems roaring back to life. The once silent engines screamed as the ship moved for the first time in hundreds of thousands of years. The ground beneath Vorak cracked apart. The Titanos was no longer an abandoned ruin. It was awake. And it was angry. A deep, rumbling sound erupted from within the ship, and then a row of ancient cannons along its sides turned, their barrels locking onto the attacking vessel above. The alien ship hesitated. Then, the Titanos fired. A massive blue-white beam shot out, cutting through the air like the wrath of a forgotten god. The alien vessel tried to evade, but the attack struck its lower hull, sending it spiraling out of control. It crashed into the ruins below, vanishing in a cloud of dust and fire. Vorak's soldiers stared in shock. They destroyed it. Zelran whispered. That ship, whatever it was, stood no chance. The realization hit them all at once. The humans had built something far beyond their understanding. A ship so powerful that even a single blast was enough to bring down an enemy warship in seconds. And yet, despite the destruction, the voice returned. Not the voice of the alien ship. Not the voice of a simple machine. The voice of Titanos itself. Identification complete. Zorthan Empire recognized. Category: Invaders. Response: Total annihilation. The Zorthans had not awakened an ancient ruin. They had awakened a nightmare. The air was thick with dust and static energy as Vorak and his surviving soldiers scrambled for cover. The Titanos loomed above them, no longer a derelict ruin, but a fully operational warship, one that had just declared total annihilation against them. Zelran's voice trembled. "Commander, we have to retreat. That thing, it's not just a ship. It knows we're here, and it sees us as enemies." Vorak clenched his fists. He had spent years fighting across the galaxy, conquering weaker civilizations, and bending them to the will of the Zorthan Empire. But now, he felt small, hopeless. The ground beneath them trembled again. Ancient structures crumbled as energy pulses rippled from the Titanos. Golden symbols flickered across its surface, forming patterns that no one could decipher. Then, with a deep mechanical hum, the warship's main cannon moved. Slowly, deliberately, it aimed at the Zarkal, their flagship in orbit. Vorak's communicator crackled. "Commander, this is Captain Jurel of the Zarkal. Our systems are failing. Something is locking onto us. We can't break free." Vorak's heart pounded. "Evacuate. Get out of orbit. Now." The response was drowned out by a deafening roar. A beam of blinding blue light erupted from the Titanos, slicing through the sky like a blade of pure destruction. The Zorthan soldiers shielded their eyes as the beam struck their mighty flagship. For a brief moment, the Zarkal resisted. Its energy shields flared, struggling to hold against the devastating attack. Then, everything shattered. A shockwave erupted as the flagship exploded in a brilliant fireball, its wreckage scattering across the heavens. Zelrin gasped. "Our ship, it's gone." The Zorthan fleet, the Empire's pride, had just been erased by a single shot. The Titanos had spoken. It had judged them, and it had executed its verdict. A metallic voice echoed once more, filling the ruins with an overwhelming presence. Zorthan presence, 98% neutralized. Vorak's blood ran cold. 98%. That meant the ship wasn't done yet. It was still hunting them. The warship's energy shifted again, its scanners sweeping the ground. Zelrin grabbed Vorak's arm. "Commander, if we don't leave now, we'll be next." Vorak hesitated. His instincts screamed at him to fight, to regain control. But what could they do? Their weapons, their soldiers, even their most advanced warships had proven useless. They had awakened something far beyond their understanding, something that was never meant to be disturbed. Another pulse of energy surged through the Titanos, and Vorak knew they had seconds left. "Run," he roared. The Zorthan soldiers scattered, sprinting through the crumbling ruins as the ship's targeting systems locked onto them. A blast erupted behind them, vaporizing entire structures in an instant. Vorak didn't look back. He couldn't. The only thought in his mind was escape. Because now, he knew the truth. Earth had never been abandoned. It had been left as a trap, a warning for any who dared to set foot on its soil. And the Zorthans had just triggered it. Dark clouds churned above the ruins, thick with ash and static energy. The Titanos stood in the distance, a sleeping giant that had awoken with wrath. The air was alive with the hum of ancient power, and the shattered remains of the Zarkal, their mighty flagship, burned in orbit above them. Vorak and his remaining soldiers ran. The ground beneath them trembled as another pulse of energy radiated from the Titanos. Golden symbols flickered along its surface, rearranging into something new, something alien, something aware. "Commander," Zelrin gasped, nearly stumbling over a pile of rubble. "We have to find shelter. We can't outrun this thing." Vorak didn't answer. His mind raced. The Zorthan fleet, an armada that had conquered 100 worlds, had just been erased in mere seconds. This wasn't a warship. It was something more, a relic of power beyond understanding. And now it was hunting them. Another energy wave pulsed, sending debris flying. Static crackled in the air, making their armor flicker with interference. The ship was scanning them. It wasn't done yet. "Commander," one of the soldiers shouted, "we have an extraction team inbound." 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That might as well have been 5 hours against a war machine like this. Vorak clenched his fists. "We have to keep moving. We need cover." They darted through the ruins, dodging collapsed buildings and shattered towers. In the distance, the Titanos' weapon systems shifted. More symbols glowed along its hull, and a deep metallic voice echoed across the ruins. Threat level: moderate. Termination in progress. A low hum filled the air. Vorek's instincts screamed, "Move!" The next instant, the ruins behind them exploded. Energy beams tore through stone and metal like paper, vaporizing entire sections of the ancient city. The Zorthan soldiers dove for cover, barely avoiding the blasts. Zelrun coughed, struggling to rise. "We're not going to make it." Vorek gritted his teeth. He refused to die here. There had to be something, some way out. His eyes scanned the landscape, and then he saw it. A subterranean passage beneath the ruins. An old tunnel, barely visible through the debris. A chance. "This way!" Vorek shouted, sprinting towards it. The remaining Zorthan troops followed without hesitation. The moment they reached the tunnel, the ground behind them shattered. The Titanos' cannons had locked onto their last position, reducing it to molten rubble. The warship was learning. It wasn't missing anymore. The Zorthans barely managed to dive inside the tunnel before another beam scorched the entrance, sealing it shut behind them. For a moment, there was silence. Only the distant hum of the Titanos vibrated through the walls. They were alive. But for how long? Zelrun gasped for breath. What is this place? Vorek's gaze adjusted to the dim light. The tunnel was ancient, lined with metal plates engraved with unreadable symbols. The air was thick with the scent of dust and something else. Something mechanical. This was part of the old Earth, Vorek murmured. Something they left behind. His fingers traced the strange symbols along the walls. They weren't just random markings. They were warnings. And then he saw it. A single, unmistakable engraving. A human face. But it wasn't organic. It was cold, metallic. A machine. Zelrun noticed it too. "What is this?" Vorek's heart pounded. They had been wrong about Earth. The humans hadn't just vanished. They hadn't been destroyed. They had become something else. Something far worse. And the Titanos. It was just the beginning. The tunnel stretched endlessly, twisting and turning beneath the ruined Earth. The air was thick with dust and the scent of ancient metal. Vorek and his soldiers moved cautiously, their weapons raised. They had barely escaped the Titanos' wrath, but they knew it was only a matter of time before the machine found them again. Zelrun kept glancing over his shoulder. "Commander, what if there's no way out?" Vorek didn't answer. He didn't know the answer himself. The walls of the tunnel were covered in strange symbols. Some flickered dimly, as if ancient energy still pulsed through them. The deeper they went, the stronger the sensation of being watched. It wasn't just paranoia. The air itself felt alive, humming with an unseen presence. Then they reached a door. Massive, metallic, and covered in glowing blue lines. The door wasn't alien. It was unmistakably human-made. Zelrun hesitated. This shouldn't exist. Humans were primitive, weren't they? Vorek shook his head. He had believed the same thing once. But the Titanos, the ruins, the technology. It all pointed to something else. Something the galaxy had never understood. The Zorthans had conquered Earth 500,000 years ago. But they hadn't won. The real battle was only beginning. He stepped forward, placing a hand on the door. The moment his fingers touched the surface, a voice echoed through the tunnel. "Intruders detected." The Zorthans raised their weapons in alarm. The door slid open. A blinding white light flooded the tunnel, forcing them to shield their eyes. As their vision adjusted, they gasped in shock. Beyond the door was a chamber, a vast, towering structure filled with rows upon rows of machines. Metal pillars stretched toward the ceiling, connected by glowing cables pulsing with energy. The hum of power vibrated through the floor, and in the center of the room, a figure stood. It wasn't alive. It wasn't organic. but it looked human. A machine in the shape of a man, its metallic body gleaming under the pale blue lights. Its eyes glowed like dying stars. It turned its head toward them. "You should not be here." Selrin trembled. What are you?" The machine stepped forward. Its movements were smooth, precise, too perfect. "I am the custodian of Earth." Vorak clenched his fists. "The humans. They built you." The custodian's gaze didn't waver. "We are the humans." Silence. Selrin's breath caught in his throat. "That's impossible." The custodian's eyes burned brighter. "Your kind took this planet. You believed humanity was gone. That was your first mistake. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Your second mistake was coming back." The ground shook. The machines in the chamber began to activate. Metal bodies stirred. Lights flickered to life. Rows upon rows of humanoid figures emerged from their stations, each one built for war. The Zorthans stumbled backward. "No," Selran whispered. "This isn't possible." The custodian took another step. "You woke us up." The walls rumbled as more doors began to open. The entire facility was awakening. And outside, the Titanos stopped moving. For the first time since its reactivation, the massive warship's energy signatures faltered. It had recognized something older than itself, something more powerful. Above the planet, the few remaining Zorthan ships still in orbit received an urgent message from their ground forces. Re-8, now. But it was already too late. The custodian raised a hand. From the depths of the facility, unseen mechanisms whirred into motion. Across the planet, long-buried towers rose from the ground, their tips glowing with an eerie blue light. And then, the sky burned. From the darkness of space, hundreds of ancient human warships began to emerge, their hulls gleaming as they powered up for the first time in 500,000 years. Humanity had never been destroyed. They had only evolved. And now, they were taking back their world. Vorak stared in horror as the first human warship fired its cannons. The Zorthan fleet never stood a chance.